Hey, we want to thank you guys for tuning in to yet another episode of the Reporter Newspaper Online. Just for you guys that don't know, we've been in business for 47 years serving the greater Akron community and the entire northeastern Ohio. A only black publication in the place. We're making it happen. Check us out. If you want to subscribe or advertise, please give us a call at 330-535-7061. That number one more time, and I'm sure you can see it on the screen, 330-535-761. Hey, the online thing is banging. We're making this thing happen. Go online, check us out. The ReporterNewspaperOnline.com. We're transcending the boundaries of just print ads, and we're going into the digital realm. And speaking of the digital realm, we want you guys to understand that we're trying to reach a lot of different demographics, hip-hop community, everything that happens in our community as a whole, from the 35 to the 45 to the 9 years old to the 8-year-old. Hey, we got something for you on the online and on the report and in the newspaper as well. Right now, we're about to showcase my main man, 50 Grand. I know you're like, what?
Yes,
We got my man, Brother Stephen Muhammad from the Nation of Islam. And for those who don't know, the 20th year anniversary gathering of the Million Man March took place in Washington, D.C. Of course, I was in the place, and this is one of the guys that facilitated a couple of buses to get down there to help promote the agenda that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is promoting. It's called Justice or Else.
Yes, sir.
We want to have Brother Minister Steve. First off, I want to thank you for coming.
I want to thank you for having me.
Oh man, it's all good. But
And,
see,
as well as the Reporter newspaper. And we've been doing a series of articles over the last, since '07 on the losing of a chosen generation. The Reporter was gracious enough to publish that, and the whole thing with the losing of a chosen generation, the Million Man March, Millions More movement, the Million Family March, and now the Justice or Else. We're reaching a cycle where we have a new generation now that if we're not careful, we're going to lose. So what happened last weekend was right on time, and I know the Reporter's always been right there to document our history, and that is so important. Without your own media, you're dependent upon and really at the mercy of whatever anyone else says happened.
and you know what? That's a good thing. I want to start with. Let me start off with that. A lot of people were saying that there was not enough media coverage, and of the event. Now, when I say media coverage, I mean ABC, CBS, Fox News, and stuff like that. And you just touched on something, man. I'm telling you. You said we have control over our own media. I'm gonna give you the microphone. Explain to me and the people that's watching. What do you mean by control over our own media?
Well, it's very simple. Media is what people depend on for their ideas, for their worldview, and ultimately also for their view of themselves. So whoever controls that is literally dictating how you see yourself, how you see the world. And if we don't have a friend, someone who knows us, who loves us, who cares about us, and who has the courage to tell the truth, regardless to who's right or who's wrong, the truth must prevail. That's what media is supposed to do. And of course, that fourth leg of government, you got the three major branches, and that fourth balancing act is supposed to be media. And that is so important, because without that, then you can have corruption and things like that that run amok. And that's what's happening right now in America. And as you and I know, our story was never told. And when it was told, it wasn't told accurately or with a slant that we always are made to look like we were other than what we really are. So in 1995, the Million Man March, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, of course, called for 1 million. Nearly 2 million showed up on the mall in Washington, D.C. CNN, C-SPAN, and other media forums were there, but we don't believe they were there because they expected us to have an event that would be equal to the glory of God. We believe they were there because they were ready to catch live and direct us acting a fool, and that didn't happen. So the result of that meant that the world now saw black men in particular as not maniacal, bestial, and the reason why America was going down, but they saw that we had something different to offer and more that we wanted: atonement, reconciliation, and responsibility. So what happened, brother, and you're right on point, This time around, they said, we won't say anything about Minister Farrakhan or what black men or blacks in general are trying to do, not just in America, but around the world. This is a world movement. It's not just something taking place in America. When the Hands Up movement started, there were Tibetan monks, people in China, other parts of the world were posting pictures on social media saying, hands up, don't shoot. We see you, America, and we see that you are a big fat hypocrite because you never have changed or solved the issue, the long time issue with your once slave. And yet she preaches democracy and justice around the world. And Mr. Farrakhan spoke to that. So long story short, Brother Hiram, when you have your own media, you can tell your story the way it ought to be told. So we celebrate the Reporter newspaper and really all other forms of media as well. Social media is one reason now that we're getting real information in real time. So this wasn't around 20 years ago. So we put all that together, you have a chance now to find out what the real truth is and get the message in its real, authentic form.
You know, that's why Brother Steve is in the place right now. Again, we want to remind everybody, this is the Reporter newspaper, man. And if you want to get in contact with us, advertise, or even just subscribe to this supreme wisdom my man is dropping, to get in contact with us, it's 330-535-7061. Hey, I got another question for you, man. As with the Million Man March 20 years ago,
Yes, sir.
the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, I'm going to give you guys some homework to do, some take-home stuff. I want you to expound on what he said then, as far as what we had to do, what he said then, and what we had to implement then, and to what happened this past Saturday on what he wanted us to do here in Akron or our local communities.
Yes, sir. We've been organizing for Justice Sorrells for more than 6 months. And local organizing committees were formed in 1995. We revisited that for this particular round, mainly because they were very effective and they were inclusive. Whatever your talent, skill, whatever your focus is, you have a chance now to exercise that in your LOC, local organizing committees across the country. More than 120 cities now have LOCs. So what happened then was he said, go back home, join a church, join some religious organization because we have to get back on track spiritually first. Atonement, reconciliation, and responsibility, atonement to God and to our communities. So the churches filled up. More than 25,000 children were adopted after the Million Man March. And other groups and organizations, NAACP and others, all benefited from the Million Man March. That was because we had to get back what we had lost, our rightful place as men. Now with Justice Sorrells, the issue is a little bit different because, as we mentioned at the outset, we are losing now an entire generation. Mm-hmm. Our sons, Brother Hiram, our sons, right? These are not foreign young people that we don't know. We've watched this whole thing unfold in the last 20 years. And so now we have to do something dramatic and drastic as acts of war have been visited now on young black males and our young sisters too. Whenever you have the male who has been interrupted or removed, then you can't have community. It's impossible. That's how important the man's role is. When you take that away, nothing else can happen. We don't seem to get that. But when you look at the numbers, they're very clear. 1 every 28 hours of us, young black men, middle-aged black men, and even some elderly brothers are killed by some form of law enforcement. And that's striking.
That's crazy.
And that's just what law enforcement is doing. We haven't even factored in the old issue of the black on black, quote unquote.
Right, quote.
We still got the hate issue that happens that causes us to fight and kill each other, plus the poverty issue. All of that's a recipe for disaster. And the common denominator and the one who always suffers as a result of that is the young black male or black men in general. So what we talked about now with Justice Sorrells is the Honorable Louis Farrakhan said he needed 10,000 fearless to go home and clean up our communities and stand between the guns and our young people. And he said right after that, as soon as you do that, you're going to find that rogue police and wicked black men who are benefiting from the sale, distribution of drugs and other kinds of activities that are detrimental to a community are going to want to stop our progress. And so the fearlessness first means recognize that there's no God but God and use that as your point of contact. Without that, we can't have anything. That is the uniting factor across the board. And then from there, you get love for self, and that love propels us to go out and do whatever is necessary to save our communities.
Listen, we also want to thank my man, the brother minister Stephen Muhammad, for coming down to the Reporter newspaper. And we also try to get you guys to come over to the Reporter newspaper online. It's called the Reporter Newspaper Online.com. Click on that. Check us out. Don't forget you can promote your event, your idea, your business. We can come out with the cameras and everything and put your face into place, put it over all over Northeastern Ohio, because everybody is definitely checking us out. Our numbers are growing and growing every week. Every week our numbers are growing. And of course, you know, with the Tangible Form, the newspaper itself, it's all over in Canton, Youngstown, and everything. So if you're trying to promote your place, you're trying to promote your brand, or whatever you're doing, your event even, please give us a call at the number you see on the screen. Now back to Brother Minister Steve. Hey man, listen, we want to know, what can people do? What's the next move right now? We know there's a MOS study group here, MOS here in Akron, Ohio, that you're over. Tell everybody what you do directly here, because I know everybody's familiar with your face, and I know everybody know what you do, but re-educate them, brother.
Well, and you're right, because what I'm finding out is a lot of folks don't know what you do. And the more we interact with them, the more they're able to find out, okay, so you have some services that we can benefit from. The big thing right now coming out of Washington, 10-10-15 or Justice or Else, is not just the 10,000 fearless men, because our women want to know, well, what can we do? And they have absolutely been phenomenal throughout this whole event. Without the black woman, brother, and you know this very well, we ain't going nowhere. We have to be a tandem force. And she's been out front for way too long. It's time for us to get back at the point so she can take some of the stress that she's been shouldering and do other things that she does so well. So anyone that would like to get involved with the activities coming out of 10-10-15, I'll give you a number you can call. It's a toll-free number, and I'll also give you our location. We encourage you to call the number, leave your information, so we can contact you and let you know when the activities will be happening and how you can help. Any skills, any talents that our people have, and we have a laundry list of things that we're good at, but we just have not had the context to employ those skills. But right now, we need you. 877-657-3738, 877-657-3738. That's our contact. And our location is right here on Copley Road, the west side of Akron, 1507 Copley Road. That's right across from Erie Island Elementary School. It's no longer used as a school, but that's the location folks will remember and be familiar with. 1507 Copley Road, and our entrance is at the rear. And that any time on Sunday, of course, around MOS meeting time, people can pop in and get information and stop by and see us. We don't just do religious services, so to speak, but we have been a servant to the community. We deal with manhood training, womanhood training. Of course, our big focus is putting the family back together and trying to get our young people back on course. And we also do a lot of speaking engagements. Anything that's necessary as a healing, we want to make sure that we are available to serve that purpose.
Give them the times, though. Times.
Sure. The MOS meeting is Sunday at 11 o'clock a.m. And we always there. 11 to 1 o'clock is roughly what the hours go by. And then through the week, Wednesday at 8 o'clock p.m., we have a study group, self-improvement study group. The same is true for Friday, 8 o'clock p.m., self-improvement study group. And then, of course, on Monday evenings, 8 o'clock, is when the men get together and we go over manhood training areas. And that covers all the areas that we need to improve and the areas that we want to make stronger as far as men go. And as you know, with what's happening with young men, they need guidance, we need mentors, all the things that we need. And we try not to frame this in a way to where it looks like it's a large burden. the big thing is we know that we can win. The Million Man March really was the shot heard around the world. And what happened with that was people saw what our intention is, and we had a glimpse at what we're capable of doing. So now it's time to move forward and make sure that we complete and realize our full potential. So those are the dates and the times.
Good.
One last thing. You can go to either NOI.org or you can go to justiceorelse.com. NOI.org or justiceorelse.com. You can revisit the minister's lecture that was delivered on 10/10/15, and you can also find other information there and ways that you can get involved and help. So there's a lot of ways to contact us.
That's good. Hey, we want to thank you guys for checking us out. Anytime you see the video on the screen in your Facebook page or any social media networks, click on it or just go directly to the Reporter newspaper online, the community page. You'll see all the stuff that we're doing in Akron, Ohio to showcase all the positive things that's happening. Until the next time, have some fun and get something done.